Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Right, so we have a forum, so we'll call this meeting to order. Next thing is announcements. Don't really have any announcements. I guess the only announcement I have is anybody that has not filled out their census. I know we get reports all the time on census and they're way behind on the numbers, so please fill out your census information. And that's really all I have for announcements at this time. So we will go to item number 5, which is the swearing-in ceremony of our new police chief, Scott Rubin. Welcome, Mr. Rubin, and I'm going to have, I did one, I'm going to have Lori do it, but I would suggest y'all do it over here in front of the flag. Let's continue. So, council members, I'm not sure if y'all met Mr. Rubin, I know Mr. Smith did.
Not till tonight, today, tonight.
I, Scott Rubin,
I, Scott Rubin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Chief of Police
of the Office of Chief of Police
of the state of Texas
of the State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state.
so help me God.
So,
Thank you. Here, turn this way for a picture. Yeah. Like, sir?
can't see your smile. I will
Not that
So, welcome, Mr. Rubin. We look forward to a long relationship. Next, we have public comments. I think we have a couple people sign up.
Yes, we have two. The first is John Ransom with TCQ. Or-
I'm here.
Okay.
Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
First, thank you guys for taking the time to serve the community. I'm sure it's a task to sometimes feel like the good deed goes unpunished. My name is John Ransom. I live in the administrator of the city of Blanca, State House Trading. By way of background, I grew up on the South Concho River, Jason Angelo, on the Canyon Bridge. And I love living in this soft country. It's my presence here in Blanca. For my sins, I'm also a partner of law firm called Jackson Walker in Texas. And several of my law firm partners in me live along Blanco. We've got a big interest in maintaining the quality of Blanco River and really want to help the city deal with its wastewater and keep the Blanco pristine. Also, perhaps a week moment, I'm free to join the board and protect our Blanco here a couple of weeks ago. And I really have two questions here. I think more nice than what we prefer. Protect our Blancos. She's the smart one and knows the details. But I really have two questions. Is the city interested in partnering with other than developers, private developers, to maintain the quality of the Blanco avoid destruction? By partnering, I mean working together and sharing. I do merger and acquisition and tax planning stuff. And my experience with people Stonewall, it goes to the courthouse and brings up my second question. Does the city want to spend money on lawyers or facilities? I assume everybody wants to work something out that meets the needs of the population and preserves the river. You guys, I think, have inherited a challenging situation. But I think that you've got an opportunity to craft a really nice long-term solution that we can all be proud of. And I'm certainly here to help. All of our partners are here to help. And everybody in Protect Our Blanco is here to help too. So thanks again for your time and your service. Having chaired a nonprofit before, you know, my best wishes to you, because sometimes it's entertaining. Thank you.
Mr. Franklin, I have one question. You asked us, the first question you asked is, did we want to enter a partnership? This is with Protect Our Blanco, is that what you're saying?
I would say, I think the program is council members to partner with third-party finance. I think there's not just Protect Our Blanco, but other potential sources of funding to help the city deal with it.
When you're discussing a possibility of a funding partnership, is that correct?
Well, no,
Okay.
third parties that might put up money. Doing a public-private partnership is a whole different facts. Been there, done that, and watching the cities never want to do that again. Certainly not Washington City. But I'm talking about, you know, I think there's sources of funds that people have to understand what's going on, what the goals are, and how it can be done. Because without that, nobody's going to write it. Okay?
All right, thank you.
One of my partners is the treasurer on board of the Friends of the LCRA, that's the Lower Colorado River Authority. They've successfully raised a great deal of money to help maintain Colorado. And we think that could be right. Thank you, guys.
It's Lauren Haas. Yes.
Yes, hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight remotely. I'm Lauren Ice, and I want to just build on a few things that John said. I'm an attorney with the firm Frederick Perales, Allman and Rockwell, and we're an environmental firm. We represent Protect Our Blanco on the matters related to the wastewater treatment plant there. And I'm speaking tonight to request that the council hold a public meeting at which POB can brief the council and the public on the issues that John brought up and that POB has been raising for the last several months. I recently sent a letter to Mr. Rodriguez, the city's legal counsel, making that request be set for tonight. But in light of recent developments, I thought I'd better just convey the urgency of this request directly. As a few of you probably know, POB was one of the groups that was opposed to the amendments the city was asking for in its wastewater permit and was admitted as a party to the contested case hearing. But we learned last week that the application was actually sent back to the TCQ for amendments. And I understand that those changes are intended to change the route and the location of the discharge outfall. But POB would like to use this opportunity to propose some other changes to the amendment as well. Those changes would be ones that are aimed primarily at keeping wastewater out of the Blanco River. And beyond just this amendment, as John was mentioning, POB wants to work with the city to plan for growth and wastewater reuse well into the future. We recognize these are important issues to the council and that you've got several decisions in front of you to make regarding these issues. And given that the city has some new council members, given that the permit application's been remanded, it seems the timing for a public meeting or some kind of briefing on this topic could really not be any better. So what we're asking is that you set this briefing now before the permit application is amended, so that, you know, we can make these changes now. And I think we'd all agree it would be more efficient if there's any interest in working with the community rather than going through a lengthy and costly hearing process that was referred to earlier. So POB is happy to take 30 to 40 minutes at the next council meeting if that's what's most effective for you all, or if the permit revisions are imminent and they're going to happen sooner than that, we really request that we have a special meeting or some other kind of briefing so that we could get ahead of the issue. POB is happy to help facilitate that. I know that there's the MOU with the Meadows Center, and the Meadows Center could be another party that would help facilitate this kind of meeting. And whatever topics that the city is interested in hearing from POB on, we'd be happy to present on. So if sources of funding and future partnerships are something that you would like to hear from us on, as I said, POB would be happy to help facilitate and make that as convenient for the council as possible, just so long as we take advantage of the opportunity now and, don't wait until these amendments have already been submitted. So thank you again for your time tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
That's all we had for public comment.
Yes.
Sign up. Yes. So then we'll move on to the staff budget presentation and update, budget update, or budget report, city hall, water, sewer, police department, and budget calendar, and city hall updates. I think they all three kind of tie together. Is that correct, Will?
Yes, I'll kind of do an update here, all. Once again, really happy to have Chief Rubin on board. I know his plate's full. We've had a few times to meet and discuss a few things, both budgets and policy issues or some ordinance issues that need to be addressed. So he's more than active and engaged. And I really appreciate his help on all of things. We're still in the process of our FEMA CARES Act funding for additional items. We've already covered a lot of the PPE, and COVID-related items. We got our security glass in. If you haven't come and seen that, I think it looks awesome. I think it represents the city of Blanco very well. I was obviously, just to say, I did not want glass up. This was prior to, because I didn't want to lose the hometown feel and the openness that we had at the time. We were talking to people, but due to COVID, it was a necessity, and if we got to have it, we might as well look good to it. I think. We're working on the kiosk still. That's part of the FEMA CARES Act. I'm still working on that, getting that approved. That is a large process that we will, not only the kiosk operates on one operating system, and it feeds directly into our books, which would be currently our QuickBooks. But we run our utilities off an RBS system, which is really an outdated system, and then we have NetData, which is a court system, which is another system that's all got to be integrated, taking three systems integrated into this new system that allows us to have the social distancing and allows an option for people to come up to the outside of the building and pay with cash, money order, credit card, however they want to do it. And it works for court fines, it works for permits, it works for utility bills. It'll be a great asset to us. A lot of other cities have had it. We've done a lot of homework following up with the other cities as well. In doing this, though, they have a system that is Gov on Track that basically replaces all that, puts us into one operating system. It does a lot of the accounting system for us. All the revenue streams go automatically to where they're supposed to be, and it runs us a set of books that is much better than what we have today. So that's one of the big things we're trying to work on right now, and for the most part, the CARES Act would pay for it. So it's really a big deal. It's roughly a $30,000 piece of equipment, and then you've got some annual costs as well. I'm also working on a new email system for council, P&Z, historical commission. I've consulted with Brad with some guidelines for that, so who needs it, who doesn't, for public works and PD and all people involved. Intend to have a blanco.tex.gov address, and we get off the .com or a government facility. We should be on a .gov. It would have a tremendous amount more security than we have now, and be a whole lot more user friendly. So that's one of the next things we're working on. It really won't cost us anything but pennies a month to manage it and be all cloud based. Since that's all we're talking about pennies, the next item is budget workshop, which is your budget schedule. Calendar is in your packet. I do believe it'll be easier this year once we get over a few hurdles we've got with our planning right now, figuring out and establishing exactly where we are, where we've been, and where we're trying to go. But I have a whole lot of other stuff to cover in that later. FYI, we relocated the brush dump location to a 9-acre tract off of 281 instead of having it at the wastewater plant. It's a much easier access, and we've got a tremendous amount of people now using it, which generates additional funds for the city. Ronnie worked with the fire department to make sure that they were on board, that that's a much better place for them, much easier access to get trucks in case we had an issue out there, so it's working out very well. We did not lower the fee because it was closer.
Yeah.
Water treatment plant, I think we're making some headway. I think we'll cover more about that later. But we finally got some good news off of that. Municipal court will resume sessions on September the 22nd. We're still under the same regional SOP that we operate as we've been operating for the past 2 or 3 court times. I wasn't going to go through all the numbers, but if you have any questions on all that, that's something, please come by the office. I'm happy to meet with anybody at any time. And answer any questions on the numbers. There's a lot of adjustments going to be made in the next rest of this month, and for the September meeting, of course, we'll have a workshop meeting before the next regular council meeting. And we'll have one after, and we can always add them if we need to.
I'm not gonna belabor a lot of things. I got 1 or 2 questions for you. The report we get, who issues this? Is this from you?
Yes.
Okay, that answers, it wasn't signed or anything. The numbers that are in here, do you feel they show that we are over or under budget?
For most people, we will be under budget. For public works, we have some adjustments to do because we've got FEMA money to apply on additional chemicals. The key for public works is once we make those adjustments, which we'll make before the next meeting and for the next workshop. So we'll see where our true representation is, because we've got chemical costs in there that are due to COVID that will be coming back out, and we'll move that into our FEMA fund. So that'll reduce where he's at projected right now. There are a few other items we'll be accounting for, and he could be slightly over budget, but there's a few items in there that I don't want to go into and explain everything.
Well, I'm not asking for
Reason
full
why.
explanation. I guess, you and I talking, I'm concerned, because I'm looking for a balance sheet, and we've not been able to complete one yet, but we're gonna complete one.
I think you understand why, correct?
I did,
Okay.
but we still don't have it.
So we still have it, but it's been, you gotta realize where we came from. Before you got here, there's been a lot of things that have changed and we try to fix.
All
So,
right, so I guess basically, there is a chance we'll be operating in a loss for the year, is that correct?
no, we will not be, because our profits are up considerably. Specifically, when you look at public works, they're gonna be $700,000 over income what they projected.
Okay, I had this other stuff, too, something previously.
So if you look at the top line, it's got what their actual budget is and what the projected budget is, come out to $2,085,000. And their income was projected to be at $2,003,003, and they're gonna come in projected $2,075,000. The only one's really in jeopardy right now is PD, I'm sorry, it's not your fault.
He just got 40.
He's aware of it, probably should have known before he took the job, but, that's the only one that's really in jeopardy of being over budget. And it's not gonna be a lot, it's gonna be minuscule, but there were some issues that were entered incorrectly in his budget last year. Or not budgeted for.
I have a couple questions about the brush pile.
Okay.
So we moved it downtown. Is it in a fenced area
Yep.
now, and it's locked?
It's protected, locked.
Okay, because that was, there must be a new fence, right? There wasn't a fence.
No, it's been fenced off during the duration we owned it.
Yes.
I must be thinking of a different one.
Right.
I was thinking of the one that butts up to,
Like the Vista,
yes.
that's the one. But it is completely fenced.
Okay. That was my question, because I noticed that, even out at the old place, there was a lot of, garbage getting left behind, so I just want to make sure.
Yes, it is. It's right now.
It's under lock and key, so the way we do it is first off, a brush customer has to make an appointment to come in, and they come in, they get the key, they go take their they pay for their load, they take their brush, they come back and get the key. You know, some of them pay for 6 loads. That's fine with me, they're coming out of Rock and J mostly, we'll take whatever we can get.
And is there, do we have a fine or anything if somebody dumps anything other than brush there?
If anything that's not approved, we will fine them, but catching them is a little bit.
Sorry, yeah, I know it's tough.
I say we don't have the capability of power out there right as of now, so we don't have a camera system.
Right, as of right now, we've only got about 4 customers, so we could probably track that down, but at different times of the year, different situations.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
What is the fee
Fee right now is $25 per load.
per load?
And
load is
pick up the
fine.
order,
Trailer load.
and we get some big trucks, we get full dumpers, sometimes we get a pickup load.
When we started this, brush control system, the council approved it at $5 per load. And I wanted to, it's only been a handful of years that we've changed it to $25, which got rid of a lot of riffraff people just trying to get rid of their own trash or dumping or whatever the case, but
Yeah.
it's been a pretty nice little income for our water and sewer department.
Were there any questions on the, budget calendar? I'm not asking for questions, I want to make sure. And if you do, I mean, Lori
Won't tell you what she said.
is cooking it. There's a lot of jargon in there that has to do with her specific filings, so it doesn't all apply to y'all. The dates are what, the meeting dates are the ones that are really critical to.
Just kidding.
Basically, we'll have a special meeting on the 26th, is that right?
Yes.
The first budget workshop, and we got.
First budget workshop, yes, will be on August 25th. Yes, Matt, please put these in.
The 26th.
26th.
25th,
It's a Tuesday.
it's right here on this page.
Yeah, we try to keep them Tuesdays, so you can just make sure you spend every Tuesday here at
Okay.
City Hall.
And are we gonna go for 6 P.M.?
It's right on where the 2 is.
Normally we do, did we move them up last
On
year?
the front of the 2.
It's
on the front of the 2.
5:30.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
Mr. Clove was the only one that had issues with that last year. So we'll let him ride and then we'll ask him a question. And I am all for moving them up, but I hope they're not as long as they were. Mr. McClellan, is 5:30 too early for you to be here on these meetings, or we just need to?
I think it'll be all right.
Okay. Make no sure seats at
I got it. 5:30.
5:30 would be awesome.
Okay.
that's for the August 25th meeting. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that includes mine.
And then we'll have another one on September 1st, this meeting, basically, records, more like, gonna be.
Yeah, we'll be lucky to get away.
We'll be seeing a lot of these.
Well, we'll technically have the final one too, September.
Yeah.
Unless we're lucky enough to do the regular meeting to approve the budget, we'll probably have to have another one at the end of September. But before the 22nd.
We have to finish them so that I have time to like
I'll post.
file and post in the
Our
paper.
public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to have it done by like 9:22.
Yeah, that's what we've got.
That's when I have, we have to hold the hearing. And
Approve the budget.
yeah, you'll vote on the budget first and then the tax rate. And then it listed on the second page, the order that we have to go in.
Well, my favorite time.
All right.
Anybody got any other questions for him? Good.
Good job.
Yeah. Go team.
The next we'll go to the consent agenda. We have, 2 items on there, approval of the minutes from the July 14th, 2020 meeting, and also an appointment of the new Blanco Historical Preservation Commission Chairman, Roxanne Sorrell.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the July the 14th meeting as published.
We have a motion by Mr. Smith, and you have a second for the approval of the minutes.
I'll second
Second, all in favor?
it.
All right, move to approve. Second one was the appointment of the new Lakeville Historic Preservation Commission Chairman, Roxanne Swope. So who was at least we were at the last commission meeting, who was the former?
Senator Hall was at the
Oh, that's right.
And she sat down and, they elected a new member and new chair.
So they've all approved it there.
They've all approved it as the chair, they just need your consent.
Could I, who all is on the board over there? I'm not even sure who's on the board.
Rudy Nino, Lois, no, sorry. I can't.
Okay, it's not that big. I was just curious.
Hollis Boatwright.
Yeah,
Hi, everyone. It's Roxanne. I'm here.
Oh,
If anybody has any questions for me.
Who all the commission?
Hello. It's Pam Prescott Caps, Pam Neighbors, Mr. Sandifer, Hollis Boatwright, and then Mr. Nino is the preservation officer. But you'll have to forgive me because I am very new and I am just getting my head around all this.
We've had a few discussions and a few more to come as to the historical commission's past, present, and future. So we're working to get her up to speed as well.
Okay.
Everything will go just fine if you bring donuts to city council meeting.
Well, thank you.
Sure, that's it.
I'm sorry, I've got a lag. Thank you. I look forward to working with all of you.
yes.
I'm calling for a motion.
This is, you need a motion for approval.
For that, because the first one was for,
Yes, I know. You need a second motion. Okay. Make a motion that Roxanne Sorrell be appointed as the new Blanco Historic Preservation Commission Chairman.
motion, do we have a second?
Second it.
Second. Mr. Ryan, all in favor?
All right.
All right. Welcome, Roxanne.
Thank you.
Old business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on the following. The first one is discuss and consider action on abandoning 15th Street, property easement, state build access, McClellan, Howard properties. We've been doing some work on this, and been working with Brad. So.
Well, I need Brad's input, so if he's still awake. He's
Kind of.
I didn't know if you were checking the shorts or not. So what I'm requesting, I need Brad's approval or direction in what we're doing here is that, we have a proposed easement access to the real key is the elevated tower. We've got to have access to that. We've got to have an easement access to it. Over time, I could bring out all the maps and bring out all the history. At some point, the city did relinquish a portion of 15th Street to the center of the street to Ms. Howard. So we don't use that point in the streets. It's not drivable. We've been using the McClellan access from the south end, which would be from Green Line coming into the elevated tower. The Stateville property will give us an access point from their side, which would be the south side of the elevated tower. And what we're needing to do is proceed with Brad's help. I believe there's only 3 property owners involved in this, being Stateville property, the McClellans, and Howard's. We would need them to petition to relinquish the 15th Street. City would then trade the trade the easement, utility easement access point with the Stateville property, and a contract with such would be drawn to all parties liking, but we need to proceed with getting surveys as to where our current stand is, standpipe fenced area, where the actual easement is, and where the new easement would be.
And the survey will be a business, yeah.
They would be a shared cost. And why I say shared cost, because it's our fence area, at least we would have to pay for our fence area to get where our elevated tower is surveyed correctly, because I do not believe it's correct now. The rest of it would have to be to the parties, so the Howard must take care of their side, McClellan's take care of their side, and of course, Stateville will take care of their.
And then to pay for the survey for the new easement.
For the new easement, Stateville property. It'll be part of their new development.
Okay. Are you needing approval from us?
I need approval to move forward. Can't spend any money, can't make any action to do so. And if Brad's got any objections or directions to it, me and Brad converse, we're completely conversing.
No, what Will just described, I think is the appropriate course. But I think council would, I think council should authorize moving forward with that. We would also, of course, need the petition from the 3 property owners.
Yes.
But you know, in order to, I mean, it would be helpful to have that council approval to move forward from the city's end.
Wouldn't there actually be 4 with the city? You got the city, McClellan,
Yeah.
Howerton, and Stateville.
Cities assume, yes, sorry.
Well, I know the Stateville property is in favor. Have you spoken with the other 2 property owners?
Other than the Stateville property?
Yes.
One of them's here, and the other one I have not yet, because I need to prove, I'm not gonna go start, I'm not gonna kick that knee high until we know we're going somewhere.
All parties want resolution.
Absolutely.
For,
Oh, yeah, no, they absolutely want it all.
Well, then I'd like to make a motion that we authorize Will to proceed with this with the contingency that he has the agreement of the 3rd party as well before proceeding with the surveys and the extensions to the city.
Yes.
So we have a motion, did you get that, Wendy?
Wendy.
I mean, last time. So,
I got it.
What's the mask?
It's a mask, man, like an oxygen.
It's all good.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Ryan. The comments or anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been authorizing proceeding on this for a long time. We all know that this has been ongoing for a long time. I've seen multiple surveys of the area. I believe Mr. McClellan has recently
I think each party has
gotten
done a
survey.
survey.
So let's push this thing to the finish line and get it over.
This is the first authorization I've received, and I've got the other ones done, I'll get this one done.
We've worked on it for years. It's been coming up. So
I know Mr. McClellan has my personal cell phone and my address, so I don't think I'm gonna get away with not getting this done.
Maybe the first one and everything else.
She wants to take my youngest child hostage, I'd appreciate that.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. All right. Well, we got some more to do. Second thing is discuss and consider action on grant petition for city to abandon unused portion of 15th Street between Hackberry and Cherry Street.
That would be a table still, I don't think Brad is prepared for that, I have not been prepared for that yet either.
All right, table that one. Number 3, discuss.
What is the story on that?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a little background on what this is.
I don't have a lot of background on that, that's the other end, and Brad may have more information on it than I do. I know originally when it was presented in council, it was presented we were supposed to be talking about the McClellan 15th Street. And the mayor at the time gave the floor to the grant portion of the 15th Street. And that pretty much got everybody really confused about where we were talking about on 15th Street. So legally, there's things that gotta happen, petitions have to happen for all abutting property owners. We have not received any of that. I do not know honestly if they've actually been contacted on that as well. I'm more than willing to tackle that one next, but I'd ask Brad to tell me get through and we'll, take it one bite at a time. And I believe it may be a little bit more complicated issues on there because the property lines are so close and maybe even crossing over in certain cases.
And council, I'll just add that my recollection is that the last time that this was on the agenda, you had one of the property owners who came and requested the abandonment. The problem is that because you are a general law city, until you have a petition from every abutting landowner, that you don't have the authority to abandon a street. And it was unclear at that time, the last time this was on the agenda, it was unclear at that time precisely the boundaries of the portion that were to be abandoned. And you have to know those precise boundaries in order to know whether or not you have all abutting landowners. And frankly, it is the abutting landowner's responsibility to come forward with a petition. And so until we have a petition, we can talk about it, but you can't act on it in the absence of a petition. And you only had one property owner who was appearing last time and who was asking for this. And just from what the information we did have, it was apparent that there was more than one landowner. We just didn't know how many more.
So we don't have any data on that one, we'll just table it for now. Item number 3 is discuss and consider action on abandonment of easement Pittsburgh subdivision. So basically same thing.
That's a table deal that was put off due to COVID, being able to go and get door knockers and get signatures. So until they come forward with anything, it'll remain tabled.
Okay. So item number 4, we will discuss and consider action on speed bump installation request at Main and Bolter Street.
I believe in the package, there's a couple, I don't have it here with me, but there's a couple of complaint letters. We get a lot of complaints about all ends of Bolter. Everywhere in between. We've had phone calls, I'm sorry. Okay, that's the most recent one.
Wait,
Or the
number
2.
4?
There's.
That's the first one.
Mr. Knight and one from the.
Yes.
Right.
I don't have
So-
a number.
I don't have a report that either.
I have a blue 3. Does that count?
Yes.
Bingo.
3 is close to 4. It's like right next to each other. So we kind of entertained the discussion of speed bumps before. I'm not a big fan of speed bumps, the cost and the maintenance and what it does to other people. Talked to Chief has helped go and take a look at it as well, and you can jump in anytime you've got something to add. We believe that there's a reduction of speed limit would be much better along with additional patrols in that area and additional sign postings of the speed limit. For whatever reason, we have limited posting of signs over there, and I don't believe Public Works has been responsible for posting speed limit signs in the past. Ronnie's aware of, so that's a number of years that they haven't been posted. But we can add some posting of speed limit signs, reduce the speed limit to 25, and within that stretch from 281 to the corner of Fulcher at the Blanco River, anybody shouldn't be over 25 in that stretch anymore. And I think that would solve a lot of the problems going all the way down to the river.
Or we're gonna contact the county as well.
We did contact the county. The county sent me a letter, and I failed to put it into the packet, and I'll have to find it here in a second. apparently there's one of the constituent issues there. There's people that are opposed to it, but there's also the primary issue is the state has different requirements that prevent them from easily being able to do it. We could petition the county as a municipality and work with TxDOT and different agencies, and we could probably get it done eventually. It'd be a very long process to get it done on county road, because that's not our area. But I think if we just lower the speed limit, we're gonna solve a lot of that and increase controls. And eventually, there is some additional work we can do with the county. I'm sure Chief has some ideas on that to help us get something done. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, so I don't think that speed bumps are the right solution for that spot. I think, like Will said, under the transportation code, we don't have to do an engineering study to reduce the speed limit to 25 miles an hour. It's a decision that council can make. So it doesn't cost any money, just a decision to lower it. Right now, there's only one speed limit sign, so I get the 1200 block. So I think as you exit 281, we'll come up with a good strategy on sign placement so people can see those signs. And then we can do some directive enforcement, get some high visibility of patrol cars out there and try to change some driving habits. I think because we have the residences along the right side of that road, is an unintended consequence of the speed bumps is they generate a lot of noise because you have people decelerating and accelerating. So in my experience, people want speed bumps until they start dealing with all the noise. And then a year from now, we'll be having a meeting and they'll be complaining about the noise on the road. So I think we can mitigate it by reducing the speed limit, some directed patrols, and some adequate signage out there. I think that will help address the issues. As far as the county road, I'm not sure because that's during the single lane down there. And in a municipality under 2,000 people, you can reduce it all the way to 10. I don't know if that's applicable on a county road, but I can check with Sheriff and talk to him and see what their view is on where it turns into the county road. I think that's the best initial approach.
What about adding some lights to those new signs? I mean, it seems like if you're changing habits, sometimes just to get people's attention.
So initially, we put the signs up, attach the red flags to them for a period of time. And then there'll be a warning period once because it's an ordinance that can effectively fine somebody. So we'll go through like a 30-day warning period before we actually have to issue any citations. So I think some of that will be addressed, just by putting the signage up and marking them.
And I don't know if you know, I discussed this with you, but we do have that speed trailer.
Yeah. I've worked on it a few times in the past, so.
It is important, I think we can work on.
Yeah, I was looking at it, I'm not sure where it needs to be, but we can, that's definitely something else we can put out where we have these areas, just kind of let people.
It could be close to the river type situation, especially with the new sign, it helps get some attention. To let people know that we're watching now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
So it says take action here, but it doesn't say anything about, speed limit, yeah, speed limit. So
We cannot change the speed limit at this point. If y'all are, if it's something that you are interested or willing to look at, you don't take a vote, just tell me. Then we'll prepare an ordinance for it for the next meeting to where you can, pass the ordinance at that time.
Could we make a motion that we, in lieu of the speed bump, that we reduce the speed limit to 25 miles an hour and then post it properly on the road?
I'm gonna leave, go ahead.
Yeah, that would be a pretty question, but to me, that's a significant change to the language in the agenda.
Right.
So if it's significant, it has to be posted on the agenda so the public can come and speak to that.
Okay, thank you.
You agree, Brad?
I hear. No, unfortunately, it's not posted that way. And so I don't think that would be appropriate given the notice. You can certainly do it next time. But unfortunately, it was only posted for consideration of speed bumps.
Okay,
All right, we can direct Will to.
put that on the agenda. We'll get this on the next agenda.
We will. And honestly, that's my fault as much as I would like to.
Michael.
No, I would like to blame Wendy, Lori. But,
I had it in there and I took it out and.
no, I didn't have the right language to give it to her, so. Didn't think about it till it's too late.
Okay,
Okay.
Add to next agenda.
So item number 5 is discuss and consider action on special events ordinance. So that was the ordinance that we had a lot of questions about, and I think Matt had to.
That's, in the last meeting minutes, it was reported that, I needed the feedback from council, what y'all wanted to do before I send it to Brad, send him my version or your version. He needs to see what we're talking about, what we're disputing. So until I see the verbiage from council's opinions, then I can send it to Brad, and we can work it out. In other words, we'll have a little mini workshop on it. We don't have to stand in here in the council and have to discuss all the points and opinions. You send them to me or come meetings with me, we'll work through it, knock them out.
But I made some notes, and we've already discussed this.
Yeah.
But I think it shouldn't be just Will or I or whatever. But I think we all of us need to make sure we read over it and put in our input as well. So it's not
I agree.
incumbent on one or two people to do it. But I do have notes, we discussed it, I'll come over.
Give me, send email or whatever you want to do, just let me know. But yeah, we need to address it, but I need the input.
Okay, so we're gonna. Okay, we'll have to bring it, so we get, I guess we don't need a motion for that.
No.
Alrighty, and we'll go on to, new business. First one is proposed tax rate, discussion and consideration, set public hearing for September 22nd, 2020 at 6 p.m. Lori?
Yes.
You want to-
So if you want to look at page 17, basically each year the city, Blanco County Appraisal District puts these numbers together. They send us a worksheet, the city finance department fills it out, we send them our numbers, and then they come up with 2 rates. The first one on page 7, top of page 17, is this year's no new revenue rate, which is calculated at 0.3378%. This is the maximum rate that the taxing unit can propose. The taxing unit, being the city of Blanco, can propose unless it publishes a notice and holds a public hearing. And then the second rate is the voter approved tax rate, which is at 0.35. And this is the maximum rate that the city can adopt without holding an election for voter approval. And we're currently, the current tax is 0.36. So if we go with the voter approved rate, we'll actually be going down 1 point. And these rates will be posted on our website this week. And then this is the rate that we have to use. These 2 rates is what we choose one of them. And that's what we vote on at the end of September when we're calculating our new budget.
All right, I got lost here, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna, I'm on page 17,
Okay.
and you're telling me that our current rate,
Our current rate is 0.36.
yeah, I got it, and if we can maintain that range without a public hearing.
No, that's good.
We have to go. The rate. The rate. That was last year's. The rate for the coming year is 0.35 is the maximum we can do. 0.35. The maximum we can do. Since it's low notice. Right, correct. Right.
So. And previous is, we usually go with the one that's.
Right, I don't know how much,
Right.
in this case, it's even lower.
Actually, we did last year. Before that, we hadn't raised our tax rate since 2017. Last year's the first time, and that's the reason we were able to go up, because we had that 3-year gap. We were able to go up to the 0.36, which was substantial over previous years for our tax account. If we go down to 0.33, it would cost us roughly $111,000. That's going down to 0.35 would be free.
So it won't be as drastic.
It won't hurt us that.
Alright, so the next item is discuss and consider action on ordinance to be determined the annexation of the Mintzmyer, partially calculated tax property ID 1967. I think this is Brad.
I'm sorry, Mayor, what are we on? You were breaking up.
Number 2,
Mintzmyer, this annexation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So as you will recall, when the city settled the Far Paradise litigation, one of the terms of that agreement and the subsequent easement agreement for the transfer of the discharge easement to the city was the disannexation of the Mintzmyer tract. That was acquired by Far Paradise back in March, and the proposed discharge easement goes through what was the Mintzmyer tract and is now the Far Paradise tract. One of the terms that the council approved and authorized was the ultimate disannexation of the Mintzmyer tract. A general law city's authority to, disannex is limited in the local government code. The tract in question is qualifies though for what is called a sparsely populated disannexation, and that is a situation where a tract of land that was annexed into the city that is at least 10 acres and is sparsely populated as that is defined in that section of the local government code may be disannexed by ordinance. Sparsely populated means fewer than, I think it is, it's in the ordinance. I don't have the ordinance in front of me. I apologize. In conferring with opposing counsel, the Mintzmyer tract is unoccupied. It has neither commercial businesses nor any residences. And so it falls well below the threshold to be considered sparsely populated. So in your packet, is a proposed ordinance, for the disannexation of Mintzmyer. We're going to ask you for a motion to authorize the mayor to sign it and for the city secretary to file it as appropriate. I got what you don't have in your packet, which is to be an exhibit in the as part of the ordinance, is the survey of the Mintzmyer tract. We received that from Mr. Palmer's lawyer after the packets were prepared. So I do have the survey now. It's just not part of your packets. So that's what we're asking for, is because it's a term of the earlier settlement agreement and easement agreement. It's already been authorized by council. It just needs to be formally acted upon now.
Any questions?
Craig, do we set a precedent when we do this, or is this just pretty well just consummating what we had agreed to previously?
It only consummates what you've agreed to previously, and it does not set any precedent. I mean, there is no way to bind the council to do the same thing in other circumstances, even if other properties qualify. Each annexation or disannexation would stand on its own. And so while it would be possible for someone to come to the council in the future and say, hey, I would like to be disannexed because I qualify under sparsely populated definition, you could say no, you could vote it down or not act on it at all. And the fact that the city had previously done it would have no bearing whatsoever on, the next request.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
When exactly did we agree to this? I mean, this was part of the settlement with Far Paradise. And when was it agreed that we also are de-annexing the new property as well as giving him 25 years of not paying taxes to the city? When did all that happen?
A couple of months ago, whenever, I think when it might have been y'all's first, I don't remember if it was y'all's first meeting.
Really? It was
It's been,
It's been in the talks and deliberations.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for a minute. I think it finally got finalized either y'all's first
At
meeting.
my first meeting, it got finalized.
I'd have to go back and look at the.
I made more coffee when I come in.
But the settlement agreement that was related to the litigation was earlier this year, and the easement agreement was authorized sometime. I don't remember the exact date, but I know that it was authorized since we went to these remote meetings. So sometime within the last 2.5 months or so.
Yeah, okay. More coffee.
So if we don't have any other questions?
That isn't something that generates much income for the city anyway, is it?
I'm not sure what the actual tax rate, but it'd probably be ag exempt and.
Especially the sparsely populated.
Well, but I think, Palmer intends to develop all of that area. So that would definitely have been income for the city.
This point your track was, you remember the acreage up there?
It's like 3.5, like a little 3.5.
Oh, I thought it said it.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not the other one.
It's approximately.
Yeah.
If he were to develop that, he would have to petition the city for services, would he not?
Well,
It wouldn't automatically.
not necessarily.
It's in our P and Z, so anything developer is gonna go through the P and Z as far as the PDD, plan development property, so.
But if he does, of course, subdivided.
Unless it's, which I haven't read, unless it's in the contract, he's not obligated to do so. Go to the P and Z, which then go through council to approve what he's planning to develop as well after the P and Z is approved it.
And I'll just remind everyone that the overwhelming bulk of the Far Paradise property is not in your city limits.
It is in our ETJ.
It's in your ETJ. It's in your ETJ. That is true. But the portion that you are disannexing was a relatively small portion of the entire tract, and so therefore back to the issue of the tax hit city, it would be relatively small in comparison to the overall tract because the part that's being disannexed is such a relatively small portion of the entire tract.
That's correct.
Right, doesn't it still leave a portion of the original FAR property in the city limits?
I don't think
No,
so.
sir, not,
He's
I
all
don't
the way
believe
out.
so, no.
City's not getting anything.
The
from
city
him
limits,
out here.
the city limits end at the east side of the water treatment plant, and they go down towards the river. And then you had this little cutout that the Mincemoyer tract was part of, the earlier annexation and some other adjoining tracts. So, but no, almost all of the Far Paradise, the original Far Paradise tract that he acquired from Dan Brown, none of that tract was in the city limits. The only portion of it that was in the city limits was Mincemoyer that Palmer acquired in March of this year. So Palmer was never, the Far Paradise was never in the city limits.
This complete tract is like 550 acres.
Right, I know where it is, but I thought I looked at the city zoning map and it showed the river frontage on the far end of the city limits.
Yeah, but that's the old 2014 map. I know there's a few issues with it. Yeah.
All right, well, yeah.
But he will be exempt from being, annexed or having to pay any city.
The only way we can annex them furthermore in the future is just be voluntary annexation.
The way we annex anybody's voluntary.
We're looking to make our money off our paradise, off of being water, wastewater, and a reclaimed water system in the future. So
Uh-huh.
we can go for that one.
Okay.
We have a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance of the disannexation of the Mincemoyer property and authorize our mayor to sign the ordinance and our city secretary to follow.
We have a
The tax property ID number 1967.
We have a motion,
I'll second it.
and we have a second from Mr. McClellan. Any more discussion? Not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None is opposed?
I'll say aye.
Aye. All righty. Item number 4 is discuss and consider action on water treatment plant project, initiate and authorize bidding process in compliance with the applicable procurement laws. So Brad, how do you want to handle this one?
So I'm not, given the earlier today, and Ronnie and Mayor Pro Tem jump in, but earlier today, we had a telephone conference with Tom Turk, and myself and Mayor Pro Tem and Ronnie and Will, and I guess, Laura, were you there in the background too?
Yeah.
And so so the discussion was, it was an update on the status of the bidding for the water treatment plant. You'll recall that we've discussed some of the aspects of that in the past. Ultimately, just very briefly, Archer Western had been the low bidder originally, but due to the length of time it took to obtain approval from the Water Development Board for the loan, and then the onset of COVID, Archer Western came back to us and said, no, you can't, we can't do the bid for this amount. And they asked to increase the bid amount. That's not permissible under Texas bidding laws. And so we began the process led by Ronnie and Tom of going back to the next lowest bidder and the next lowest bidder and so on. And it's my understanding that we are close to an agreement with, Ronnie, you'll have to help me out with the name of the bidder.
Associated Construction Partners or something, I believe so. Associated. We call ACP for short.
And so we believe that we have an agreement with them for them to take on the work at their bid price. We are still awaiting because this occurred so long ago, technically the bid window in which to award and approve and accept rather, that has closed. So they're going to have to we're going to have to enter into a subsequent agreement with them that we are agreeing to extend the bid deadline and allow them to accept because the lower bidders have refused or declined to perform. So that would make them the low bidder. And then we'd have to go through the process of formally awarding and so forth. We put this on the agenda tonight because I wasn't sure whether, or at the time, I wasn't sure whether or not we were going to have an agreement with this entity or whether or not we were going to have to entirely put it out for new bid. We believe that we will have an agreement and we don't have to go through the whole new bidding process. So that's going to save some time on that. Tom Turk is in the process of preparing the necessary correspondence to the Texas Water Development Board because they are ultimately going to have to sign off on it. What we need is from Associated a written agreement for the expansion of the bid window. So I think what we'll need from council then is an authorization to expand the bid window and to until we get the written document from them saying that yes, we will do this at this bid price. It's not official, but we do need your action to reopen the bid window so that we can accept this document from them, which we believe is forthcoming.
Okay, Brad, in last month's meeting, we did have a motion and we authorized our engineer, Cleveland Turk, to start the process of bidding and implementing cost-saving changes to the bid, as well as search value engineering. At the same time, city staff is authorized to go with third and fourth bidders to verify their interest. Motion was seconded. So we've already had a motion to either rebid it or go with the second and third bidders. But it's saying you need another motion, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I think because we've gone to them, but what this does is that it reopens the bid window to allow one who we believe will accept to submit the necessary a written agreement that we will enter into with them that we're reopening the bid window and they are accepting that reopening of the bid window, which is a little bit different than what you authorized last time, because last time we didn't know whether or not one of these other bidders would agree to perform. We believe that Associated will perform now, obviously until it's all signed and executed by the parties. We're not there quite yet, but we believe we are.
Okay.
Have I said that, Donnie?
I'm a little confused. When you're saying bid window, you're talking about the window that we have to accept the prior bids, correct?
Yes, sir.
We're not soliciting additional bids or opening our bid period time. We're opening the 30-day window that we have to accept the bids.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, under the terms it had already closed. So this may be just a formality, but we want to make sure that we're in compliance and that you've actually authorized a reopening of this window so that we can accept their bid, because those deadlines have long since passed.
Well, I mean, if we're extending we've got a date in the bid document so that these bids are valid for the next 30 days, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we're going to extend that 30 days out to when?
We are going to,
I mean,
I'm trying to remember what Tom said at the meeting earlier today. Ronnie, do you remember what time frame he said he would need?
Oh, what time frame? He was needing,
50 days.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it was,
Yeah.
no, I think that was 60 days was gonna be for their number to be, I guess, valid for a period of 60 days. That way we can finalize all, necessary documentation and stuff from there. The same time, the big bonds and.
the window that you're reopening is not 60 days. We're asking them to hold to agree in writing because their offer to do the work at the previously bid price has expired. So
Yeah.
we need something from them in writing that says we are reoffering our bid price and we're going to agree to hold that bid price for 60 days. That's what Tom is reaching out to them to ask for. Meanwhile,
But our motion can't, do we give them an opportunity to extend their bid? Is that what we're doing?
yes, sir. Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to give, because our window to open and accept bids has passed, we need a window. Tom said that we will have what we need on our end within a couple of weeks. But we need to be safe, I would say a 30-day window in which to reopen and accept their earlier bid. And if during those 30 days, we get from them a written agreement that they are going to perform at that price and they're going to hold that price for 60 days, then we still need Water Development Board approvals and so forth. But at least from a bidding perspective, we've been compliant with Texas bidding laws.
Okay.
So should the motion cover the opening of the bidding window just for them and them only? I guess.
Yes.
Somebody can change their numbers.
Right.
Number one, number two, it says no thank you. So we're to number three already. So let me see if I can word this and then Brad, you give me your input.
Yes.
Try to make a motion. Is that
Well,
okay?
I have a little bit of, I just like to say, I'm just wondering if this, I'm really interested in this sort of window we have here to reevaluate the project in light of the new permitting and everything. I'd like to be able to hear the presentation that Protect Our Blanco has for us.
It is separate.
Oh, this is separate.
That was,
Oh, this is water.
This is
we're talking about wastewater, this is water.
I thought we were on wastewater.
No,
Okay,
we're on the water.
Water.
Yeah.
Not wastewater.
They are for that.
Right.
Right.
Well, but they're different contracts and they're different permits.
Yes.
We've got a permit to take water out of it.
Yeah. No, no.
No.
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay.
Okay, good. Get on with your
All
motion.
So what you waiting for?
I'm gonna make a motion that we give the third bidder, because I don't know their names,
ACP.
an extension of up to 60 days from today's date, where they can reopen their bid for that period of time. They have to take advantage of this opportunity for the extension in the next 30 days. How's that sound?
Yes, sir, that'll do.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion, I'm not gonna repeat it because that was like, pretty long, but
I've got a better thing.
we have a second.
All right.
I have a second, Mr. Dine, any more conversation? All in favor?
All right.
All righty. So, that was the last thing in regular session, so at 7:15, we will close our regular session.
Okay.
And Will, I think you're gonna keep people off.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Yeah, we'll just do it here, we'll keep So we will open executive session at 7:16, in accordance with the authority contained in the Texas Government Code sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074. go back to regular session. And we will go over items. Item number 1, there was no action. Item number 2, no action. Item number 3, no action. Item number 4, no action. Item number 5, no action. Item number 6, Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, dismissal of interim city admin. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we amend Will's title and we remove the word general and we change it to city administrator.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Mr. McClellan, all in favor? Alright, and then item number 7, no action. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Mr. Lewis, the second from Mike Smith, all in favor?
How do you do at least one motion, right?
Alright.
Who seconded that?
Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
All right.